Okay, we will call to order this meeting of LAFCO. If everybody could please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we will start with the introduction of commissioners and staff, please.
Richard O'Brien, Vice Chair.
Ken Lane, public member.
Amy Bublak, City Member.
Terry Withrow, County Member.
It's like she's not even sitting there. That's amazing. Neither is a county member.
Javier Cameron, Assistant Executive Officer.
Sarah Lottlepenny, Executive Officer. Introduction.
Javier Lopez.
Rob Terrell, LAFCO Council.
Jennifer Vieira, Commission Clerk.
Very good, thank you. Okay, we will move on to public comment. This is for the period of time that anybody from the public can speak on any item that is not on the agenda, and then you can also speak on items that are on the agenda, but this is for things that are not on the agenda. We have 5 minutes for that. And I do have a couple cards here, a couple speaker, what kind of cards? They're different than cards. All right, we'll start off with Barney Yeager. Barney, good evening. How are you?
Good evening. I'm well, thank you. How are all you?
Very good, thank you.
I'll keep it short. I've spoken to you several times in the past. I live at 7730 McHenry Avenue. I'm on the west boundary of the proposed Riverwalk project. My wife and I are opposed. My wife is at a meeting and could not be here. I am opposed for many reasons, all of which are contained in this publication of the Farmland Working Group, which was published in a special edition in the fall of 2021. Every point of opposition is well expressed in this document. And I encourage everybody on LAFCO, if you haven't had the opportunity to read this, you should. As one of my professors in college said, you need to read this 3 times to understand the full impact of it. And he was right. I passed some difficult courses because I read it 3 times. So I really encourage you, before you vote on anything of this immensity that would have so many impacts other than just planting houses and commercial this and that, it would stop urban sprawl into prime farmland. And I encourage you, 5 times, read it, please. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Barney. Okay, next up we have Dan Whetstone.
Good evening. I live at 7824 McHenry Avenue. My house overlooks the river bottom there where this Riverwalk project has been proposed. My only, I guess, thing I want to talk about tonight is just like coming home from the Riverbank Council meeting last night, seeing how far out this place is from Riverbank. You know, it's a couple miles, lots of ag land between there and the town. Just why are we building houses so far from, let's build out incrementally. So again, please go out and look at this area and see where it is. And this is something that shouldn't happen for several generations. So thank you.
Okay, thanks, Dan. Okay, next up we have Karen Conrado. Karen, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you, Mr. Withrow. My name is Karen Conrado. I live in Modesto. I'm also opposed to the Riverwalk proposed housing development. We're talking about homes on a floodplain land. We're talking about destroying prime agricultural land. What's that land? We're talking about depleting or using precious, valuable water. It's next to the Stanislaus River. It will also be destroying the aquifer, at least a good chance of destroying that aquifer. It's next to the river, Stanislaus River, as I already said, which is riparian habitat and wildlife. There's land available that's a little poorer quality that can be used for homes. And there's infrastructure concerns with traffic, sewer, water, all of those. I think that you guys are all well aware of the traffic concerns as well. Please, we come to this meeting ahead of time so you have time to research this project, to go out and look at it, to know what is going to be destroyed. We're talking about prime agricultural land that's highly productive in a world where food is important for the world, not only for this city and the county. Okay, thank you very much again for your time.
Okay, thanks, Karen. Okay, that's the only speaker cards that I have. Did anybody else like to speak? Come on up. Good evening, how are you?
Yeah, hello. My name's Fred Walton. I'm from 423 Hogue Road. I'm above the river bottom, Riverwalk. And what I'm concerned is that we have a good view of that river bottom, that you all go down there and take a look at it. The vote will come up if we pass the environmental package coming up. And you guys need to be on the ball to know what you're voting for. So it's going to be a tough decision for you guys what to do with that 760 acres. As you know, it has really, really good farm soil, and it's pretty much good water. In this drought, you need good water. Hate to give up these farms that are fairly drought resistant. So that's something to think about. Also, the development, if it must be developed for population, I don't like the high density on that river bottom, and I don't like the protection of the river. And I don't think the geography's been used well for that development. The bluffs and the upper side toward the canal and Patterson Road, that's where you guys will have to drive down or ride your bikes or hike through there and look through that place and see what you think. A lot of other questions, traffic, sewer, how they're going to handle that. I don't know if 2,000 or 3,000 houses can go on that river bottom floor, and it scares me. So I'm looking for, if it has to be developed for population, I'm looking for more of a low density type of development. I think that'd be much better, and also protection of that river. Thank you.
Thanks, Fred. Okay, anybody else before we move on? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to correspondence. Any correspondence?
There's no additional correspondence tonight.
Very, very good, thank you. Declaration of conflicts. Does anybody have any conflicts tonight on any items? Very good. Okay, we'll move on to our consent calendar. Would anybody like to pull an item from consent?
Can I just ask a question?
Perfect.
On item E, the informational update regarding the Commission's Ag Preservation Policy, and this has been around for a long time, and it was a fairly good refresher, and so for the public, this is any annexation since 2012 following the policy. But when I look through the cities, the 9 cities, not all of them look like they have an adopted policy, but not all of them have done annexation. Do they have until the time of annexation, till the next annexation, to do something?
That's correct, and some have actually adopted not a full general plan policy, but they've been doing project by project with their specific plan. They'll adopt conditions related to ag mitigation or whatever strategy that they've chosen.
But those are for the cities that have actually annexed, but the other ones, do they have to have a plan in place, the cities that have not annexed?
They don't necessarily have to. It's just that when they do come to annex, it either needs to be a condition of approval for the project, either through an adopted specific plan. Some of them haven't done general plan updates since that time too. So
Yeah.
even City of Modesto, which will be doing a general plan update soon, will likely be including at least reference to our policy. But they're not necessarily required to even include it in their general plan. It's just a matter of how they want to streamline it from that point forward. So cities like Newman or Houston that have already adopted a citywide policy, that helps a little bit streamline it so they don't have to go back and review project by project or annexation by annexation.
Okay. And who oversees this? The cities are responsible for their own
Right.
mitigation
Right.
and collecting, but if they don't collect or they do collect, is there?
No, it's
we
really
don't.
just LAFCO staff asking the question of like this, with this report, of what's been done, just to get a kind of a status check. But it would be those interested or affected agencies or organizations or persons.
That's it. Thank you
For
very much.
for example, Riverbank went up to the Farmland Trust in Elk Grove, and we're getting the developer to pay directly to them and not pass it through the cities. But they have to, they're doing it in blocks of, I think, either 10 or 50 building permits, then they pay the amount to the Farmland Trust. And I don't know where their agreement is, but that was the agreement we made with the Farmland Trust.
Yeah.
And the other good thing about that is that's, an example of maybe a different way that another city hasn't done yet. So having that sort of disclosed, in a sense, potentially offers cities other options that they weren't necessarily thinking of, too.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, very good. Any other questions or items on the agenda, consent calendar? Anybody wants to pull? Anybody from the audience like to pull any item from consent?
Motion to approve the consent calendar.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Very good. Thank you. We'll move on to item 6A, our public hearings. LAFCO application number 2022-03, City of Modesto Fire Service contract with Salida Fire Protection District. Javier.
Good evening, Javier Camarena with LAFCO. The item being discussed this evening is LAFCO application number 2022-03, which is a proposal from the City of Modesto to provide fire services outside of its boundaries to the Salida Fire Protection District. So in 2016, there was a change in government code which requires LAFCO review and approval of fire protection contracts. This is for new or extended contracts outside of an agency's boundaries whenever that contract affects 25% or more of the workforce, or 25% of the agency's service area. Previously, LAFCO didn't look at these contracts, didn't review them, didn't have jurisdiction over them. The Commission has previously heard 2 fire contract proposals before this one. Both of them were from the City of Modesto. The first one was for services for the City of Oakdale and Oakdale Rural Fire Protection District, which was approved in 2019 by the Commission. Second contract was also by the City of Modesto to provide services for City of Ceres and Ceres Fire Protection District, and that was last year in 2021. So this is a map of the Salida Fire Protection District's jurisdiction, their area. This is the area that City of Modesto would provide fire services for. The boundary is Stanislaus River, Shoemake Avenue to the south, McHenry Avenue to the east, and the border of the City of Modesto. This map just provides a map of the surrounding fire districts, just so you can get a better idea of where it's located and what districts surround that area. So that's just for reference. And just to discuss some of the contract highlights, the contract is for a 5-year term with a possible 2-year extension. That contract will provide 9 new positions. 5 of them will be transfers from Salida Fire Protection District, with 4 of those being new hires. Both the labor groups for City of Modesto and Salida Fire Protection District have submitted letters of support. Also in the contract, Salida Fire Protection District will maintain ownership of the station, equipment, vehicles, and apparatuses. The city will be responsible for minor repairs to the equipment, vehicles, and apparatuses, and Salida Fire Protection District will bear actual costs of any station repairs. So in order to approve the application for a fire contract, the commission must make the following determinations. The first, that the proposal is consistent with the overall intent of LAFCO and its policies. That the commission has reviewed the fiscal analysis prepared in accordance with CKH. That the commission has reviewed any testimony at the public hearing. And that the proposed territory is expected to receive revenue sufficient to provide public service and facilities and a reasonable reserve throughout the agreement. Both the Salida Fire Protection District and City of Modesto have approved the contract during public hearings, and a fiscal analysis has been included with the application. Staff's recommendation can be found on page 3 of the staff report, which includes approval of the attached Resolution 2022-11, which approves the requested contract and finds the proposal exempt from environmental review. This concludes my presentation, and staff's available for any questions.
Okay, Javier, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Any questions for staff before we open the public hearing? Okay, seeing none, we will open the public hearing. Anybody from the public like to speak? Seeing none, we will close the public hearing, bring it back for further thoughts, comments.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Very good. Thank you. That was easy. We'll move on to...
Very rarely do you have items where, I see the chief in the back, but no one from Salida here. So that, I think that is a strong statement as to the forward-looking, the way the fire departments are going to operate. So appreciate it, Chief.
Yeah, for what it's worth, we've had a lot of discussion out in Salida. We had another presentation last night. We've had them for months out there as we've been going through this out at the Salida Max. And I think out of necessity, we didn't have a whole lot of other options right now, and this is going to turn out, we think, actually to provide more service to Salida than they have right now. I'm not so sure how long they can continue this contract. Financially, we'll at some point we'll have to figure out something else out there. We will have some money issues, but it's great right now, and we'll work on the other things to try to help keep this going after we get through this contract. So thank you guys. Thanks, Chief, for being here. Okay, we'll move on to other business. No other business. Commissioner comments?
I just wanted to say that in the back of the room, I have former planning commissioner Maria Sali, who was a county planning commissioner for a long time, and then the two of them, her and her husband Frank, both served on the school board in Houston, and we're all going to watch my niece play volleyball at MJC tonight, along with my beautiful wife. Thanks for coming. And they wanted to see LAFCO. Did you ever sit on LAFCO, Marie? You did, as a planning commissioner.
Yeah, back on the planning days.
Yeah,
Very
okay.
good. Very good. Good to see you guys. Okay, anybody else? Any other reports, commissioner comments? Additional matters?
We are working on a few upcoming items for future meetings, including our year-end financial report and a municipal service review for the Riverdale Park Tract CSD.
Okay,
And that's all.
that's it. Very good. All right, thank you all for being here. This meeting is adjourned.
Bam.